Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Yakking Live. Our special guest today is Dustin Holt from DH Baits. So let's settle in and get to yakking. Dustin, how you doing, man?
Hey, doing great, fellas. How y'all today?
Doing good, brother. We're glad to have you. So Dustin, go ahead and tell us about yourself and your bait making and just DH Baits in general.
Well, my name's Dustin Holt. I'm originally from Morrow County. Moved down here to Manchester about, 5 years ago. Met my wife down here. We moved down here and started making baits down in a little building out back. It's where my shop is. I built me a little workshop table, bought me some molds, and got to pouring. And turned out to actually make some to actually catch fish. So that's a good thing.
So, what was actually your first bait that you actually made?
My first bait I made was an Arky style headed jig in the color of DH Magic. As you can imagine where that name's inspired from. Actually, I worked at Flowers Bakery before I became a teacher, and one of the guys there made baits, and he was making jigs and bringing them in and spinner baits, and they were looking good. And I asked him to make a color scheme for me, and that's what he come up with. And he talked about the process and how easy it sounded. I got intrigued by it. Searched it on YouTube because YouTube makes men.
Right. It does. Right. It does. I agree.
That's how I do anyway.
Yep.
And got the stuff. Got the molds, the lead, the skirts, and started pouring. And it's a fun process. I really enjoy it.
I actually got a few of the DH Magic colors and some jigs and stuff, man. I've caught several 3 and 4 pounders on at Norris Lake and Woods Creek.
Wow. Yeah, Nate might have to add that to his wish list.
I'll add that to my wish list.
Ready to add mine as well.
Yeah, might as well. I got 2 or 3 things right now. We'll add that to my wish list.
Add it on there.
So it does work. Hey, every lake I go to, if I'm struggling, I'm gonna pick that jig up and throw it.
It's worked for me.
I'm not saying because I make it, but it does work.
No joke, it's worked for me well.
Yeah.
What color scheme is that? What color?
It's a little bit of black with a little bit of light pumpkin and chartreuse, believe it or not.
So it's more of like I guess you would say like a natural forage type color with a little spark.
Yeah, it's more of a natural kind of deal.
Okay.
Cool. Black, a lot of people don't think of black as being a very good fish attractant, but most of my baits have some kind of black in them.
Okay, cool.
So that would be really good. I
can explain that later on if you want me to. It's pretty cool.
That'd be good for like clear water and stuff.
Or what would I do for clear water stuff?
No, I'm talking about like the DH Magic. Like you would use that more of like would you use that more like clear water? Or?
Honestly, it depends. I throw it at night. I'll throw it in the clearest at Laurel.
I can see that.
Depends on how you work it, really.
Okay.
Now, if it's nighttime, I'm probably gonna work it a little quicker than I would in Clearwater.
Right.
Clearwater, we use a little subtle approach and just hop that. I put a crawl chunk on the back. It's a Yum brand. Crawl chunk is the brand of it. Yeah. And it's green pumpkin with purple flake. And the crawls give super big action. They move a lot of water. And that's that combination is absolutely lethal.
Yeah, it's got the little crawl imitation.
That's a good color too.
Yeah.
So Dustin, what inspired you to start making baits?
Well, like I mentioned before, I guess I kind of jumped the gun there a little bit, but over at Flowers, that guy, he would explain his bait making process to me, and it intrigued me very much so. And I'll just be honest, I got on YouTube, started watching some guys, and during COVID, they kept sending us stimulus packages. So I was getting a little extra money. I was like, Kayla, I want to start building baits. That's my wife's son, Kayla. I said, I want to make some baits. She's like, well, do it. So I got on there, ordered me a couple molds. I'm up to I probably got 9 to 12 molds now. It's nothing major, but I mainly bought stuff that me and my dad used. We fish a lot that I knew we would fish, and was making it for me and him. And then I actually started catching fish with them. The process is pretty simple, really, but it's a fun deal when you go make something and you go catch with what you make. It's pretty satisfying. It's pretty
right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
Okay, so Dustin, obviously, me and you haven't met, but Jared and you have been friends for a while. He said that you're big into tournament fishing. Is that correct?
I love it. I love
Okay.
the competition aspect of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I love going to the lake and just enjoying the nature and fishing. But when that competitive aspect is there as well,
Yeah.
it just ramps up that anxiety, I guess adrenaline even
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Me and Dad, we'd crack up. We catch a 2-pounder. You'd have thought we'd caught the world record.
Hey, that's what
We're
it's about,
screaming.
man.
I'm yelling
That's
at
what
him to
it's
get
all
in the net.
about.
And it's barely a keeper, but it's just that
That's what it's all about.
that adrenaline factor is ramps it up a
Yeah,
little bit. It's fun.
definitely.
Well, I mean, Nate's lucky to catch a 1-pounder, and he still gets excited. So,
I'm tickled to death. I always thought whenever
Usually if I set the hook, I'm immediately yelling for the net, and then about 5 minutes or 5 seconds in, I'll be like, "Oh, I'm good. I don't need."
Well, Brandon,
Yeah.
that's kind of better than catching a 0-pounder.
oh
Okay.
yeah. Hey,
I
one's
mean,
better than
yeah.
none, boys. I'm
Hey.
telling you. Hey, when I was a little kid, we'd go to the creek. We'd have little jigs, and we'd just go catch bluegill. And you would have thought, I mean, we was at Okeechobee.
Won the championships.
I
Yeah.
mean, you would have thought. So I mean, it's whatever. But like we was getting back to the tournament fishing. You said that you and your dad's big into the tournament fishing. Is it mainly bass, or do y'all do crappie? Do y'all do striper? I mean, there's all types of tournaments out there.
If I'm going fishing, well, if I'm fishing a tournament, it's a bass tournament. That's what I know. That's
Yep.
my instinct.
Trophy
I'm
fish.
me and Dad's very good at finding fish like on the computer, and I'm very good at figuring out what they're going to bite that day.
Yeah.
And we'll go and that's that bass aspect. Ever since I was little, that's what me and Dad's done with bass fish. Now I have caught some striper on accident. I caught a monster over at Cumberland on a jerk bait on 12-pound line. It took me about 45 minutes to get him in, but it was.
I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Now I will go fish some bluegill when they're on the bed. Stock the freezer up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
As far as crappie goes, I never really, I've caught some. I actually had one bite a DH Magic jig at Del Hollow in a tournament. Believe it or not,
Okay,
that's a true
okay.
story. And Dad actually asked me for a cleaning table for Christmas this year. We got him one, and I asked him what he's going to do with it. He said he's going crappie fishing. So apparently this year we're going to be doing some crappie fishing too. So
You see a trip to Lake Weiss in the future for you guys, maybe?
Hey, that's the thing, man. I mean, before I got into bass fishing, I mean, it was crappie fishing. My father,
Yeah.
my papa, all my family would go to Lake Wise. I mean, that would be kind of the main thing of the year is, hey, we're going to Lake Wise, Alabama. I remember being a little
Yeah.
kid, and
Yeah.
us going to go pick my mom up that was working at the hospital, and then we'd go to Lake Wise, spend a week, and we wouldn't leave the boat.
Catching the old paper
Yeah.
mouth.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, likewise, it's one of those places. Have you been there, Dustin?
I have actually personally, I have not. Dad, we've actually been planning on going. My dad and my grandpa, when he was younger, that's where they would go on their fishing trips was Lake Wise. And he says it's funny because everybody goes down there to crappie fish. I know there's a lot of people from this region that go every year.
Yeah.
Just to crappie fish. He said they'd be catching crappie, and him and Grandpa would be laying 5 and 6 pound bass just one after the other. He said it's chock full of big bass. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And that's the thing, man. What I didn't realize with Lake Wise is you're in northern Alabama. It's about, I'd say, 5 hours from here, 4.5, 5 hours, depending on how you drive. And man, when you get down there, you think that you're just going to be around people that's from Alabama, and you get there, and it's like, I'm from Laurel County, I'm from Knox County. Just they got a whole strip of the lake that's called Kentucky Boulevard. I mean, it's just people from this region of southeastern Kentucky.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Lake Wise is it's one of those places that I'm very near and dear to, I guess you could say.
So Dustin, you fish a lot of tournaments. What is like one of your most memorable tournaments that you fished in? And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, let's see. I guess one of my favorite stories has to deal with one of the baits I made.
Okay.
We were fishing a tournament at Green River. It's over in like central Kentucky.
I would love it. Got a cabin over there.
Very pretty, very beautiful lake. We'd only fished it like maybe once or twice. One of the clubs was going over there to fish a tournament, and it was in the springtime. And I didn't know if the shad would be spawning just yet or not, but I did make a big spinner bait. Most spinner baits I make are pretty large. I like slow rolling them across the bottom, especially in that time of the year. But I made one, and it's a shimmy shad color. It's got a light blue with a little silver shimmy and white in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got one of them.
Some giant, like number 6, number 7 willow leaf blade on the back. I mean, it's a massive spinnerbait.
Yeah.
And we ran up this slough, and there's a big riprap rock wall on the right side. And I thought we're not paralleling, we're just throwing to the bank, And I throw my spinnerbait over there and get hung up on a tree. Well, as I'm trying to fight it out of the tree, the spinnerbait takes off to the left. I said, well, trees don't swim. So I set it up. It was a 3-2, 3-3 largemouth. It was our first fish of the day.
Nice.
I was like, well, shoot, here we got something going on. So I put that in the boat, and we're fishing that. And Dad's throwing a chatterbait, and that I did not make. But he gets hung up over there on the same wall, and we go over there to get it. He's getting it, and I look down. There's shad everywhere, so I knew the shad spawn was on. So I started just chucking that spinnerbait down that wall, and in about 6 minutes, I had about almost 16 pounds on that spinnerbait. The biggest one being just over 5 pounds.
Yep.
Wow.
And that was on one spinnerbait that I made, and we ended up winning that tournament. So that was pretty memorable to me. That that as a bait maker, knowing that you make stuff that can actually catch a fish, it's pretty satisfying.
That is super cool. That's
pretty
and
cool,
that's
man.
how you fish that lake over there. Like you gotta slow roll them over there.
He's got me ready to buy some molds. I'm already wanting to go make my own spinnerbaits.
Hey,
that's
add it
awesome.
to your wish list.
Add that in my wish.
I'll tell you what, better yet, I know a guy that makes them.
Yep.
Oh, well.
I do too.
Okay.
Make some good ones.
Yeah. Okay.
Matter of fact, I got a box full of them.
No,
I mean, that's
it is
awesome
really,
though,
it's
man.
a fun process.
Yeah.
We might have to get. I think we're gonna try that challenge series in the kayaking this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
We might have to get Dustin in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I've never been in a kayak. I don't know if I could fit in one. It might turn over, and you might have to save me. But hey, I'm willing to try anything.
Well, the thing is if me and J-Rod can fit in a kayak, I believe anyone can fit in a kayak.
Well, you gotta remember Big E. If he can fit on a kayak,
He gives people hope.
Sounds good. It'll be fun.
Okay.
So Dustin, is there like, so you make all kinds of baits? Is there like a bait that you prefer making more than others?
I make a lot of shaky heads. Me and Dad are big shaky head fishermen. I'll pour a bunch of those. There's different weights. I'll pour a bunch of those the week of a tournament. That way we've got fresh shaky heads. Make a lot of spinner baits. Make a whole lot of jigs. I started making swim jigs last year. I think you actually got some, Jared. They look really good. I love making them. It's super quick process to make those, and just the color schemes that you can come up with. I guess the most bait I make would probably be that Arky style jig, though. I make a lot of those. I fish a lot of them. They work. And red and black, we fish a lot of night tournaments. When it gets hot, our club goes to night tournaments. We'll fish like from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. And when it gets dark outside, you would think that a fish would like a lighter profile, but no, the darker the better. Yeah. Because those fish, what they're looking at under the water, they're looking for silhouettes. They can't see they can't. They're just looking for that motion. That's why those big thumping Colorado blades work in the fall,
right,
is they're looking for that motion, something moving the water. So the darker the color, the better. And I make a black and red flaked jig that is dynamite anywhere at night, and I love making that jig. I make a lot of those.
Put that on your wish list, Nate.
Wish list. Put it on your wish list.
Well,
I actually learned something new there.
Really?
I would have never thought maybe in the night that.
Yeah,
it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
I was always a fan of June bug at night, like a big
June bug is a very good
7-inch
color.
worm. Man, June bug was fire at night.
I actually fish on my shaky heads at night. I throw a black trick worm or a June bug trick worm, and that black, I don't know what it is. We was in a tournament at Douglas, and we found a wall, and we fished this one spot. Every tournament we fish at Douglas, we fish this one spot, and we fish it with a black shaky head with a black trick worm, and I guarantee you we'll have a limit every time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just with this podcast, I'm already like I'm ready for a tournament. Like just after this podcast with Dustin,
I've been in withdrawals.
Yeah.
I'm signing us up for the challenge series. I'm definitely gonna sign us up for it.
So Dustin, just from what I can tell about you, you're pretty knowledgeable whenever it comes to the fishing game.
Yep.
And really, I've learned some things. I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah,
I've learned some things.
I definitely learned some things tonight.
And that's the thing that I like about this podcast is, I mean, it's just not people listening that might learn something. Heck, I'm learning something.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy with that. So I guess one of the questions I want to ask you, too, Dustin, that I've been thinking about since this has been going on is, in what circumstances would you, like, what's certain baits that you would use in certain circumstances? Like, I don't know, like, say it's rained, it's flooded today, and you're wanting to go out and catch you a bass. Like, what? Just give us a certain type of bait that you would want to use in certain circumstances, basically.
Okay, that's a great question. I love that question, actually. That's one thing me and Dad take pride in. We consider ourselves pretty versatile.
Mm-hmm.
If if we like to adjust, you have to adjust to the circumstances that you're in if you're going to catch fish.
Absolutely.
Weather, time of year, all of that plays into where the bass are going to be, what they're going to bite, and if they're going to bite. I mean, sometimes fish just won't bite. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't make them eat.
Right.
Unfortunately, that is reality. But now, if let's say rain and it's flooded, I am finding me some. See, bass move with the water. Okay, if water goes up, bass are going to go up. If water goes down, bass are going to fall back. That's just how it's just nature. They're going to adjust their habitat. So if the lake's flooded, that water is going to push up on the bank, right? Which offers more cover. Okay, there's more timber, more I don't know, bushes, stuff in the water that you can fish. Bass very rarely are just out in open water. They're hanging around something. They're going to find a rock. They're going to find a bush, brush pile. I know everybody fishes here's of brush piles. Those can be crucial if you're trying to find bass. Now, if the water's moving up, if it's flooding, water's moving up a good, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches, maybe even a foot, I'm going to pick me up a Strike King Rage Bug. I know you guys are Bandito bug guys. I know you're big Guggen dudes, which is good. Guggen's good stuff. Personally, I like the smaller profile of the Strike King Rage Bug. Either green pumpkin, maybe a black and blue. Depends on how muddy the water is. Like we talked about earlier, even if it's daytime, if the water's real muddy, I'm picking that darker color up because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that silhouette, something moves water. And I'm going to find me the gnarliest bunch of timber that is flooded and pick it apart. I guarantee you there's a fish in there. Any kind of brush that's in the water, there's something there. I would possibly pick up a jig. If I'm searching for fish, trying to find them, I may buzz a crankbait through there or a chatterbait or a swim jig. And if try to find some reaction, you can tell if there's fish there, they'll move the water. And then I'm going to take that flipping stick and just flip it until try to make it by because I know it's in there. And most of the time they will that rage bug. I'm a big rage bug guy. I've got countless packs of Strike King Rage Bugs. They're my favorite flipping bait.
Okay. Well, I mean,
like we got springtime coming up, Dustin. What is like your favorite springtime bait?
Favorite springtime bait, and I don't know why I ever sit it down in the spring, is a spinnerbait. You can never go wrong with a spinnerbait in the spring.
I was gonna say the same thing.
You will if you. I've had people ask me, I've set up around town at these little swap and shop things they do all the time, and they'll say, "You guarantee you catch fish?" I'll tell them every time, if you throw it in the right spot at the right time, I guarantee you it'll catch a fish.
Absolutely.
Just like a spinnerbait. If you crank a spinnerbait enough time in the spring, you're going to catch a fish. Now, most people throw those little spinner. I don't like the little spinnerbaits, like I said before. I'm throwing a 3/4 to an ounce spinnerbait. It's pretty heavy spinnerbait, and it will wear you out. My arms get tired. It's just part of it. Yep. But if I'm really wanting to catch a fish, I'm going to throw that thing down there. I'm going to let it sink to the bottom. I'm probably fishing pretty shallow. And I will let it crank the bottom, and eventually there'll be one hit it. Now, if you catch a smallmouth, I mean, this is just a little teaching point here that I love that I found out myself. Like over at Cumberland, for instance, last year we fished a tournament, and I was throwing like a little brown with an orange kicker blade with a big Colorado blade on the back. It was in the spring.
Yep.
Water was muddy, super windy. It's daytime, and we were on the main body. And I was throwing that crank. We were probably sitting in 12 foot of water right on a rock wall, and I was throwing that thing and letting it sink all the way down. And I caught a smallmouth, pretty decent smallmouth. Over there, they had to be like 18 inches. It didn't keep. It's probably like 16 and a half.
Yeah.
But throw that same cast. A lot of times, smallmouth and spotted bass too. They'll pot up. If there's one, there's another.
Yep,
Guaranteed.
they will.
Almost every time. And I sat there and I caught 3 or 4 good smallmouth in a row. Unfortunately, none of them kept, which we ended up getting second in that tournament. We got on some largemouth later on, but it was very early. A lot of times in the spring, they're feeding quick, and if you catch a smallmouth, they'll throw right back in that same spot and do the exact same thing. More chances or not, there's going to be another one sitting there waiting on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I was always like a big fan of like something with red on it in the springtime. I guess because it imitates like an injured bait fish.
They love red.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Red's very red and white spinner baits are very important, and in the fall as well. You can go down to Norris. We fish a high singer tournament every year. It's a pretty good sized tournament. Down on Norris, it's a 2-day deal, and you can parallel the rock walls. Your trolling motor literally is hitting the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how shallow you are. And you can buzz a red and white spinner bait or a green pumpkin spinner bait and load up just nonstop, paralleling those rock walls on Norris Lake. In the fall, it's hard to beat when it drops down. When the water temperature gets in the upper 50s down there, it's game on. They move up, start feeding. It's a lot of fun.
Always a big fan of the square bill cranks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In springtime.
I like those in the summer. A lot of people, those crankbaits, those square bill crankbaits. If it's hot, I'm gonna go throw one. Throw it around any kind of cover because anything that's green has a fish on it.
Yep.
Because it's like anything else. If there's oxygen, they got to have oxygen to live. If it's green, it's putting out oxygen. And any little green piece of cover it's in the water anywhere. Woods Creek's, well, I know Woods Creek gets knocked for being a small lake, but it has some big fish in it. And that usually stays green the way they keep their water regulated out there. If I'm going out just to beat around, I'm taking a KVD 1.5, black and silver, little shad color, and just burning the bank, and you'll have a lot of fun. Might not catch any giants, but you'll catch numbers, and it's a lot of fun. Just get out and do that. Yeah, I agree.
When them shad's running, dude, when the shad's running, shad bites on, it's fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
I don't know why a lot of people hate on Woods Creek. It's one
I
of
love
those
it.
lakes, man. I love it. I think the
I've always
layout
caught fish down there.
is beautiful on Woods Creek. I mean, you got all kinds of timber in the water. You got so many spots where a bass could just feed there.
Little rock points.
Yeah, rock points. I mean, Woods Creek's just one of those places that I'm just like, man, I want to go to Woods Creek. I just go kind of just ride around. I think
I tell you
love
what,
it.
a lot of people.
Well,
Go ahead, Dustin. Sorry.
well, no, you're good. I was just gonna say that's my favorite lake just to get out. If I'm by myself, go over there, put in, and just float around, fish for 4 or 5 hours. Catch
great
fish or
for a
not,
kayak.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I've never fished it in a kayak.
It's real good in kayak.
I can see it being good in the kayak. About 7 or 8 years ago, they messed up by letting the grass get too invasive. There was way too much grass in that lake, and if you couldn't get a boat into certain spots where those fish are moved back, you wasn't getting to them.
Yeah.
I could see where a kayak would come in handy there. That would have been a lot of fun. Luckily they killed a lot of the grass out. It's a little easier to fish now, but I can see a kayak being very, very, very successful on Woods Creek.
I tell you another good kayaking lake, and you may not think it, is Cedar Creek.
I've heard that.
I've never fished
Because
Cedar
you can take those kayaks in those wooded areas that you can't get a
Yeah.
bass boat and slay them, dude.
Yeah.
Now that would be fun. Which is pretty grassy too in the summer. I love
It
grass, but it's got to be deep. When we
Yeah.
fish Del Hollow tournaments in the summer, we're finding deep grass pods, probably 18 to 20 foot deep.
Yeah.
We're dragging 10, 12-inch worms through that. Oh, you talk about fun. Oh man, it's a lot. When you pop that worm out of that grass and it just goes thump. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
You get chills right now, boys. It's a lot of fun.
I got the bass blues right now. I'm ready to just.
Yeah.
I've been coaching basketball for 3 months, and I've missed the water. I'm ready to get on it.
Yep.
So Dustin, I had another question on the baits you use in different circumstances. This is a question that I have actually, and I'm sure a lot of people ask this question too. The first thing you look at when you get on the water, is the water muddy? Is it clear? What's the water looking like? What do you think the best bait would be to use on muddy water and on clear water, and why do you think that would be the best choice?
Or what time of year are we talking?
Summertime.
Because that matters. It really does.
Yeah. I'm going to say summertime because we already covered the spring.
Okay.
Summertime.
If it's summertime, you hear rumors that fish go deep when it gets hot. Yeah, that's true. But not all fish go deep. If it's summertime and I get on the lake and the water is muddy, let's say we go to Laurel, right? And we drop in at Flatwoods and I get on the water and it's super muddy. I'm headed straight to the river. And I am probably going to drag me a jig. Probably 10 to 12 feet. Either that DH Magic color I was talking about, and I'm not promoting my jig colors. It's just what I would use personally.
It's great.
DH Magic color, or probably that black and bluish color, something like that. Maybe even the black and red. I use the black and red mostly at night though. And I would be dragging that or flipping that race bug because there is a little cover up the river at Laurel. If I put in at flat, now there is potential to throw a crankbait. It depends on what the water temperature would be there for me. But now most of the time I'd be dragging if it's muddy water. Muddy water means water's usually rose a little bit, so the fish should be moving up a little bit. I'll be flipping and dragging.
Right.
Now if it's clear, I'm probably gonna get me a super light, maybe an 1/8 ounce shaky head with a nice little trick worm on the back. I like squirrel tails. I don't know if you ever heard of squirrel tails or not.
Yep.
They are big bite baits. Squirrel tails. I love those shaky heads, shaky head worms. And I'm just going to go find me probably some ledges and drag that shaky head around some ledges, and should get bit doing that. And then also probably throw a little jig. I'm a big jig guy. I like jigs any time of year. They work.
Okay.
Well, if you follow like G-Man, G-Man, he fishes almost exclusively some type of jig.
Yep, G-Man is a big jig guy, and he's very hilarious. I love Dustin, man. I love him.
So I've got a little bit of a challenge question for you. I don't know how much fishing you do around this time of the year. But some questions we've had is what would be the best bait you think for the winter time?
Well, it's funny you say that. I actually got a report on Laurel yesterday, and if I got to go to Laurel yesterday, I would have done exactly what this guy was doing and had just as much fun as this guy had. He messaged me yesterday, and he asked me yesterday morning. He said, "What would you do right now if you're going to Laurel?" And I told him, and he did it a little bit, but then he switched to a crankbait, about 15-foot crankbait, and absolutely destroyed the smallmouth. He said he probably lost a 7-pound largemouth right now. Funny or not, they've been biting topwater really, really well. Like whopper ploppers. I don't know if you guys are big on whopper ploppers.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I've watched my dad boat several big fish on whopper ploppers, the river to sea. And right now, this time of year at Laurel, they're smoking it right now. So I'm cranking something this time of year probably. Some kind of 10 to 12 foot crankbait, shad color. I wouldn't think you'd have to have any bright colors right now. Just a simple shad color should do. Probably going to throw a little spinner bait right now because the fish, it hasn't really gotten too awful cold yet. I don't think the fish have gotten too awful deep. I would assume probably 10 to 15 feet. That's why that guy was catching them yesterday on the crankbait. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm doing that. I always have a shaky head sitting on the deck. Just if it's tough, just to slow down a little bit. But whopper plopper, top water, something, make a little commotion, and then a little 10, 12-foot crankbait and go have fun.
So Dustin, like if someone wanted to buy one of your baits, how would they go about doing that?
Well, I'm hoping to expand on that this year. I finally got finished with college.
Congrats.
This Christmas break, so I'm gonna have a little more time on my hands this year to be able to crank out some more stuff. But right now, you can find me on Facebook. Find me on Instagram. Shoot me a message. Tell me what you're looking for. I've got some stuff stocked up. Not a whole lot because I haven't had a big chance to make a lot of baits recently. But you tell me what you're looking for, what color scheme you like, and I will do my best to provide that for you. I will ship. But most of the people I sell to are local. I haven't really branched out too much yet.
Right.
But I am
You
working
will
on that.
soon, my
I'm
friend.
planning on having a website by the summer. And I'm wanting to do big things with it. I really enjoy doing it. It's just right now, I just had a kid back in July, my second
Yeah,
one.
congrats on that.
Congrats on that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, spending time with them, and with all the work stuff going on. But it's been a little struggle, but we're still there. We're still grinding, and we're hoping to ramp it up a little bit this year.
Yeah.
Heck
And
yeah.
everyone listening, we're going to have Dustin's socials linked in or below somewhere. You can go check his baits out, get up with him if you need some cool baits. Like Jared said, the Day Magic, it's a really good bait. I haven't got a chance to use it yet, but I have used a couple of Dustin's baits, and we always catch some pretty big fish on
Always
them.
catch a fish.
So-
Dustin, we appreciate you being on here, man. And we're going to have you back on here pretty soon. We need to get together and do some fishing.
Yeah, boys, I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a lot of fun. I enjoy sitting and talking fishing. As you can tell, I like to ramble a little bit, but it's
We
a lot
do
of
too,
fun.
man.
Yeah.
I'll hook you guys up with a couple DH Magic. You can go have fun. Let me know how it goes. And we'll do a little
That
collab.
sounds
We'll go
awesome.
fishing. It'll be fun.
That sounds great. Guys, we want to give a shout out to Bended Branches Paddles. Guys,
Yeah.
they make, if you want a great paddle, that's your paddle.
Appreciate your all support. They've been sharing a lot of our posts. Check it out. They got the best paddles out there, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So
Yep.
And we appreciate y'all being with us. Check Dustin out on Facebook, DH Baits. Give Bended Branches a like and a follow. And as we always say, keep on yakking.